The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Hey Bev, where are we at today?
We're at the fort downtown in Fort Wayne.
Great, great. And what goes on here about?
But there's different enactments that'll be happening at various times of the year and just teaching us the history that we all need to know about.
Great, let's get started.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not quite ready for something like that yet.
What are you making?
A pair of dividers for my tinsmithing.
Okay.
I can let that soak for just a bit. So this is going to be one side.
Okay.
So I'll sharpen that tip and then I'll punch a hole in there, and then you can use those for your to evenly divide off your circles and stuff like that, so you know where to make bends and things.
Like a compass.
Yeah. But since there's no graduation things, it's called a divider.
Divider, okay. Gotcha.
Since there's no way to measure with it.
Right.
And he wants to make the song.
Okay. And
But those are some of the
what's your
things I've
name?
made.
John Davis.
Tell us about your outfit.
It's just an outfit from 1812. I portray a captain of the Indiana Rangers.
Okay.
And
So you're the captain.
I'm the captain. Yeah.
Oh, great. You're in
yeah.
charge of that group that was just
There
walking.
you go. I've been doing this group for about 6 years, but I've been doing reenactments for 36 years. So.
Wow, very
Yeah.
good, Captain.
So
Just tell us your name again.
John Davis.
John Davis.
Yeah, and I portray Captain John Davis.
All right. Wow.
I go to other places. I might whatever they have for their captain or whatever they need to do. I will change my name to whatever they need.
I see.
My family's been here since 1703, so I pretty well. There's a lot of John Davises here in the States.
Well, thank you, Captain. I'll look at
Stuff on the table,
the
yes.
blacksmith now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If you have a question about what's there, just holler and I'll.
I made all these.
Wow.
And I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes, I can tell you know.
Sometimes you go out. If you
Well,
make what you want, you have to know
Our
everything.
regular blacksmiths are much more talented, and they're good at it.
I like the oak leaf here. Is that what that is?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maple leaf.
Maple leaf, yeah. That's really nice. How'd you scribe the lines in it?
With a chisel, just like what
Chisel?
that little chisel right there next to it.
Okay.
I actually made that chisel here at the fort
Okay.
because I forgot my chisels.
Gotcha.
So I had to make a chisel so I could make my leaf on that brooch.
Okay. Very good.
Water, and then I tempered it, and it didn't break, so
Good. Good.
that's the important thing.
Yes, it is. I got it. The guy that made everything you needed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us about that, would you?
So far as what I'm right now, I'm just upsetting the material to get more material at the end because the material's not fat enough for me. So that's what I did on this piece, was to get it fatter, so I could get there. So I'll punch this. I'll make another one that'll go, it'll be the left side. I'm just making a set of dividers for my tinsmithing because I'm not actually one of the blacksmiths here at the fort. I'm just filling in.
Gotcha. Well, you're doing a good job. What's your name?
Jason.
Jason
Winter Road.
Withrow. Okay. And how did you start learning blacksmithing?
I took a class down at Connors Prairie to make an axe.
Okay.
And that just about did me in right there.
Yeah.
I about didn't do any more with it because that was.
It's a task. That's why you see the blacksmith all husky and big, because a lot of work.
Drifting an eye on an axe is not, when you don't know what you're doing, that's a chore.
It is. So, okay. And you're pumping the bellows now.
Yep.
And that's to make the fire hotter?
Yes.
Okay. How hot do you have to have that, you know?
I think it's around 11,000
Wow.
degrees.
And you do that with charcoal?
This is coal.
Okay. Oh, regular coal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't have charcoal back then, did they?
They would have charcoal, yes.
Oh, would they? Okay.
And out on the frontier, that's what they would typically use.
Oh, okay.
It is charcoal because it's what they could make. You didn't ship rocks. It wasn't efficient to ship rocks back in the day.
Okay.
So yeah, they would have done theirs with charcoal. So they would have piled up a bunch of logs and whatnots that they cut, piled dirt around them, put a chimney on top, and just let it burn slow until, and then taking the charcoal out of the dirt after it was done smoldering,
Wow.
and use that.
I didn't know how you made charcoal.
So
Okay. Tell us about your anvil.
it's the fort's anvil.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all.
And you got the end part, is that for like bending and stuff?
This is the horn, so depending on what you're doing, yes, it can be bending. But if you're doing a large piece of metal and you need to take it down to a thinner, you'd use this because you'd have two different concave pieces,
Okay.
so it would flatten out faster than trying to do it on the flat here.
Gotcha.
So when you're spreading the material, it works faster on here than that. So, but yes, primarily for doing circles and stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the interview. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yet there's something not quite right. So what do you notice is different?
Stars.
Yeah, not how many stars? Yeah, 15. In 1812, there were more than 15 states, but of course we started with 13 colonies and 13 states, and this was the next flag. 2 states were added, and so they added 2 more stars to make 15, and they added 2 more stripes.
Because
It just
there's
made sense.
13 stripes and 50 stars on
Yeah, but as states were added, they figured, hey, wait a minute, the flag's going to get pretty weird looking if it has, 50 stripes. So they went back to keep only 13 stripes.
in memorial
And-
of the original.
Yes, exactly. And then only adding more stars, because you can make them smaller and rearrange them. And they're, I think the next time the flag was changed was around 1817, and a few more were added. So it's much smaller, but this is the Star Spangled Banner. This is the flag that flew over Fort McHenry, and Francis Scott Key, will our flag still be there? This is the flag he was looking at. Of course, it's half the size of a football field. It is, if you've ever seen it, it's massive.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
So-
the flag that actually flew over Fort McHenry was very, very large.
Yeah, so just put your 2 corners together, and you can let the ropes drop, and then put them together one more time, and then The modern flag, they have a special way of forming a triangle. An earlier respectful way of just was rolling up the flag like this. So thank you.
And I have a question
Yes.
about, is that a powder horn?
Well, it's a project that never got finished. This one has a crack in it, and someone gave it to us. It's to illustrate, you know, today we've got high-tech materials, stainless steel and titanium, and I don't know how many, 100 kinds of plastic. But in the earlier years, you had textiles, various kinds. You had natural materials like shell and all kinds of wood, and this is sinew. So this is an organic material from an animal parts. And horn. Certainly you've had your fingernails trimmed and your hair cut. Well, for the cattle at the time, they had two horns, and they could injure one another because they get jostled around, and of course the males are very territorial, and the farmer doesn't want them injured, so he cuts off the horns, and it doesn't hurt the cow. They don't even notice it. But it's like, oh, well, just no, wait a minute, don't discard this. There, you can make, if you can imagine it being cut off here, you can make cups. They slice it the long way.
What was
and put
inside?
It in,
What was inside the horn?
it's just nothing. It's
You
a
mean
hollow space.
The real horn, is that correct?
This is a horn right off a cow, and
It's hollow, huh?
yeah. Now down near this end, it gets almost solid. So this had to be hollowed out. It was being prepared to be a powder horn, and you know, it has some cracks in it, so I got it for nothing, and I just use it as a talking point. And of course, there were leather was like the Kevlar of 1812. It's very, very strong and durable once it's prepared properly. So I think that's kind of interesting to think about. Yes.
Was leather the all-purpose material?
It was an
at that
all-purpose.
time?
It could be used for clothing. You can make waterproof vessels out of it. I don't have any examples, but canteens, all of the well, of course, belts, and nothing on my uniform jacket. That's all wool, and the buttons are pewter. Of course, pouches, all kinds of.
Or your knife, your
My
knife holder.
my havers. Oh, yeah, these are just little scraps. So this is my neck knife. So it's kind of my my Leatherman. I can pull this out and do a lot of things with it. This is my MP3 player. You know, there are millions of tunes. Name any song you want, I can play it. Name any song, modern or old. Can you name a song, modern or old? Any song you know the name of it. Okay, start. Do you know the names of any songs? Yankee Doodle, row, row, row your boat. Okay, somebody start singing.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. That's pretty
So
cool.
it's a single note, but it's something soldiers might have had. It's not regulation. It would have been, you know, not on his uniform, maybe back in his bunk. Just, you know, when you get
Something to pass the time.
something to pass the time. And it's like the social media. This is Facebook. Okay? Because you get this out and pretty soon somebody's clapping their hands, somebody tapping their toe. Say, well, I've got a banjo and I'll bring that out and would you be my friend? Okay, I'll play it too. You know, it was just the way people met one another back in the day. Yes.
I thought that canteens were usually made of cow stomachs.
Cow stomachs. I suppose that, I know that the Native Americans used the buffalo parts. The bladder of the buffalo was leathery, and it would be probably treated with fat to keep it preserved, and they used it for carrying water and put handles on them. They could go down to the river because they didn't have buckets. The pots they had were probably almost exclusively for cooking or for grain storage. Their refrigerator was in the ground, so they could bury food to preserve it in those clay pots. But they were low temperature fired and very fragile. The soldiers' canteens might be either leather or wood, and wood would made exactly like barrels. I don't have a barrel. There's probably barrels in the blacksmith shop called cooperage, with little slats of wood that are fitted together, and then rings or bands that hold them together. But it's not watertight, and so they would pour in beeswax with a little pine pitch, and roll it around so it would cover and make a waterproof liner on the inside of a canteen. Also, the tinsmith made vessels and canteens and tins that were also waterproof. Good questions. Next question.
And they had more of a cellar than a refrigerator. Right?
Oh, sure. It was not uncommon in well, here at the fort, and we don't know the location, but they refer, in some of the records, they refer to the hole. So it may have been just a small pit dug under one of the buildings, but there's no record of it exactly where that was, just a mention that and it was very common in log homes like the cottage we have down there, but there's no cellar there. When you go down below a certain feet down in the earth, it's pretty much a constant temperature, not as cool as a refrigerator, but in the 50s, it's frost free. So things like apples and root, in fact they called it a root cellar because that's where you store your carrots, your apples. Eggs were stored in sand or sawdust. Eggs don't need to be refrigerated. In Europe, they sell them and they don't have to be refrigerated because here they go through an extensive washing process and it washes away the natural waterproofing on the eggs, and that's why we have to keep them in the fridge. Yes?
But in Europe, they vaccinate their chickens.
Oh, they do?
So they can skip the cleaning process.
I see. Okay, I did not know that. Thank you. Have you been to Europe? You just like to read a lot. Good deal. Your name's not Grammarly, is it? Cool. Yeah, one question is, what did boys and girls do before batteries? So little action figures might have been a possibility. I've got my phones under there. I'm reading books.
Got tops?
Pardon me?
Tops.
Oh yeah, little, and this was a lady's dress was too long and she trimmed the bottom a few inches off, and then she said, I can't throw this away, what am I going to do with it? And she came back and gave me this little ball. Nice. It's made just like a baseball, two matching parts that wrap around each other, and she stuffed it with wool. So tops, spin. There were toys like this in Tutankhamun's tomb in ancient Egypt. I don't remember. He lived about somewhere around 3000 BC in ancient Egypt. Of course, maps are, today our phones and GPS help us get around. This map appeared in the Fort Wayne newspaper in 1933, and we got permission to reprint it. It's nice. It's not really very useful. It's more of a work of art, but it has little artistic depictions of some of the people who were in the news in 1812, and then little notes, what happened here, where were the Miami Indian villages? Well, largely right across Spy Run. Let's see, on this map, here, where's Spy Run Creek? The St. Joe, oh, here's Spy Run Creek, so we're right about here. Does that say, yeah, Spy Run is the street right here. So we're here, whereas the forts were on the other side of the St. Mary's River. But that's where downtown Fort Wayne is, so the replica couldn't be built there. You have any questions for me?
Yeah, where was the fort originally built?
The Anthony Wayne's fort was built on the top of a great glacial moraine. It was the highest point in what is today downtown, overlooking the rivers, and military doctrine was take the high ground, because any attackers have to come up the hill to get you.
About where
So
would that be
the corner
located?
of Clay and Berry.
Oh, Clay and Bear.
And in 1920s, thank you for stopping at the fort. Excellent questions. I wish I could have been recording those.
You did.
And the General Mad Anthony Wayne organization are sponsoring a commemorative event. I didn't figure out the math, but I think it's a Tuesday. Anyway, it's October 22nd. It'll be on the parking lot that's opposite of the Cinema Center, commemorating Fort Wayne's birthday, which is October 22nd.
In what town?
Right here in Fort Wayne.
Oh, right here.
Here in Fort Wayne.
Okay.
That's this year?
In just a few days, yes.
Yeah, October 22nd.
October 22nd.
Okay, very good.
Well, here it's a very significant regional event. A part of the history of the War of 1812 was the native allies of the British were attacking American settlements. And so American soldiers and militia came into this area to push them back, to preserve, to save lives, and to, well, it was a very sad conflict, but it was war. And so there were native villages on the Mississinewa River, and so to commemorate that battle, a not-for-profit Mississinewa organization has a living history event in October, and it's going to be next year on October 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Marion.
In Marion, okay.
Or Gas City?
Well, here's Marion, here's Gas City. It's right in between.
Oh, okay.
This is the Mississinewa River, and Marion's up here, and Gas City is just down the road. The it says their mailing address is going to be Gas City,
Oh, but it's
but like
actually...
Marion is right very close by.
Okay, will you be there, Bob?
I'll be there.
Okay, we'll be looking for you.
Good deal. It's a fabulous event.
Yes, it'd be wonderful education.
Literally thousands of reenactors come from all over the country and Canada. I met 3 families from Canada stopped to pay us a visit today.
Is this the first time they're having it?
It's the first time at this new site.
Okay.
They were on a site owned by the Department of Natural Resources, and there were various reasons why they moved away from that site. They now own, this is privately owned land, and so there are some things they can do there that they weren't permitted to do elsewhere. So you came back with another question. Just call me Bob.
Okay.
So
Hey, Bob, how do the soldiers paid?
often get the question, how were soldiers paid in 1812 here at historic Fort Wayne? The officers were educated. They had the most responsibility, so they got the greatest pay, and it varied on rank. But I portray a private in the 1st Infantry, 1816, and at that time, privates got $5 a month. And a new coat, 2 shirts, and a pair of trousers every year. But the commander wrote one time, please send to his superior, the commander wrote, please send the new uniforms. The men are in tatters.
Yeah.
So did the Army keep its promises, and did things arrive on time? That was always a question. That was a question with food too. But these are, well, these are just some examples of, there were American coins, of course, but we were a young nation, and so French and German and Spanish silver and gold were treated as bullion. The little pieces that are cut apart, the Spanish 8 real dollar was especially revered and trusted, as it had been for many years, because it was pure silver. And if you were a merchant, or if you had any means at all, you would carry a little apothecary scale, and you'd have standard weights, because when those cuts were made to cut off pieces of silver, You know, it wasn't precise. And so in a transaction, you would weigh the silver or gold. The French out, and the other examples are, and these are all reproductions. They're not valuable antiques. But the French coins were in circulation here. And of course, the French were our greatest allies during the American Revolution. Had it not been for Dr. Franklin going to France, befriending the Marquis de Lafayette,
Is that Ben Franklin?
Dr. Ben Franklin, who had position in court and persuaded the King of France to support the enemy of his enemy. He was at war with Great Britain, of course. We were at war with Great Britain. And so the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But not only financial support, but they emptied their warehouses of old uniforms and old arms and accoutrements that turned our citizen soldiers into a professional army. Also with the help of Polish and Prussian and other European aristocrats like Kosciuszko. There's a Pulaski County, Kosciuszko County. Steuben County is named for Baron von Steuben, who was a Prussian officer. And it was he who, at Valley Forge, gave the Continental Army the training of a professional army. And while Continental Army victories were few and far between, they were a little more frequent and we were a little more successful. We didn't defeat the British Army, we embarrassed them.
Good.
And finally they surrendered and withdrew.
That gentleman would like you in there, he said.
April, there was a family traveling on the Buffalo Trace, which was the main route between Vincennes and Louisville, Kentucky. Trace was an animal trail made by the buffaloes over time. And this family by the last name of Larkins was attacked by a band of Delaware Indians, and Mr. Larkins was killed. His wife and 5 kids were taken captive. There was an outcry that reached the ears of Governor William Henry Harrison, and his response was to form the Indiana Territorial Rangers. He contacted a man by the name of William Hargrove. He said, I want you to form a ranger group. At that time they called them divisions. And I want you to patrol the trace and other similar traces and provide protection for those people. The people traveling on the traces were called movers. That's the term that Governor Harrison used, because they hadn't settled down yet. So as I said, in April, after the attack, William Hargrove was given the commission of captain, and he formed 3 groups of rangers. They were called divisions at that time. The first division was commanded by Hargrove directly. They patrolled the trace from Vincennes down to French Lick. The second division was commanded by John Tipton, same John Tipton that Tipton, Indiana, and Tipton County in Indiana is named after. He commanded the second division that patrolled from French Lick down to Louisville, the Falls of the Ohio. And the third division, history doesn't tell us who was in command, but that division patrolled on the north side of the Ohio River from the Falls up to Lawrenceburg, which was on the Indiana Territory, state of Ohio border. The Rangers' mission was to provide protection, keep the traces cleared of downed trees, and make tomahawk marks where needed so that the movers did not get lost. They did that for 2 years. By the summer of 1809, the Indian threat had dissipated to the point that Governor Harrison felt like the Rangers were no longer needed. Some of the Rangers went back home and joined their local militia. In 1811 at the Battle of Tippecanoe, you may read that there were Rangers there. They were, but